Hello and welcome to another episode of Pinoy Athletics Track Talk Tuesday. I believe we're airing now. I'm just going to check the lines here. Yep, we're live. Okay. Cool. A few viewers tuning in. I'm just going to Okay, we'll just run the slides rather. Yeah, so welcome to Pinoy Athletic Track Talk Tuesdays on the 27th of October 2020. So just some recent stats on how the website's going. So as we mentioned before, we had a record number of views last month of 38,416. We're sitting on 32,000 today with 4 days left. So that means like 1,603 on average per day is needed to overtake that, which is it's not looking likely at this point, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. But yeah, it's looking like we may get close, but it might just be off. Okay. So the first bit of news is the National Open going to be pushing through or not? Initially in May, then due to the COVID, postponed to December 5 to 6. As of now, there has been no registration forms, no schedule, nothing, no updates at all. I mean, questions have been asked on the page. Is this event going to push through? What's happening? What's going on? And there's been no clarifications at this point about what's happening with the meet. So the athletic community is kind of in limbo with what's actually going on here. So the question is it even going to happen, or is it actually been cancelled for 2020, like the other events, such as the weekly relays, and also what's happening with the training camp? That's another big question mark at the moment regarding New Clark. There hasn't been any updates on that or any recent, news on those things as well. So for all we know, it's just in limbo at the moment. So moving on to the other countries in Southeast Asia, this is what they're doing at the moment. So this is what's going on in the other Southeast Asian countries. I'm not sure if you can read this because it looks pretty tiny on my screen, but it probably, I'll just check on the Facebook page to see. Oh yeah, that looks like that's readable just on the actual video itself. So it's sorry, I've got a lot of tabbing to do here. Like about 15 windows open at once. Okay, so yeah, the Southeast Asian Athletic meets. So this is what what's happened with the other countries for the second half of the year so far. So Thailand has had jumps performances the last few months, various road events. I'll just throw in, because I haven't actually covered this in the slides, Namket, who's the SEA Games silver medalist in the marathon, he just ran 106, 54 or 56 second for the um, recent Thailand half marathon that was held in Chiang Rai, like just a week ago or so. Thailand will host its national championships from December 10 to 13. This is only going to be this isn't a national open. This is a closed national championships for Thai athletes only because of the COVID. They're not letting anyone in to enter the meet. But like from my contacts in Thailand, the Thailand Athletics has already put out its entry form several weeks ago, and the schedule's already been out for several weeks for the Thailand National Open, which is going to be held in the new stadium at Bangkok. Vietnam, they've had quite a few meets now. They had their Speedy Cup back in July. Recently, they've held their National Junior Championships. Ho Chi Minh City championships were in Ho Chi Minh, obviously, and the National Junior Games were in Tai Ninh. They had a marathon. They've had a couple of marathons, one on an island. One is they had one recently in Hanoi, and I'll be breaking down performances at those meets later in this presentation. They're also planning to hold a national championships in December in Hanoi. So that's Thailand and Vietnam. Singapore in August had its invitational time trials after a lot of its season, meets, nearly all its meets were cancelled due to the COVID. They've had 2 invitational time trials in August. They're planning to hold 2 more. So these invitational trials are only for athletes that are invited. It's like a selection-only meet. It's not an open meet. Malaysia held an invitational team trial for distance runners, and they're planning to hold more in December, depending on the COVID situation. Moving along, actually, let's have a quick scores it. Oops. Oh, we won't. All right, so we have 6 viewers now. So shout out to Ruel, Barona, and Aaron Eating. I'm not able to view who else is viewing us at the moment, but I'll just move to the next screen. So yeah, a bit of a landmine of information on this page. So as I explained, Vietnam has had its junior championships, its marathon, and the Ho Chi Minh City meet recently. The full results of these meets will all be posted on Pinoyathletics in due course. We already have updated the Southeast Asian rankings on the website. The Southeast Asian rankings 2020 on pinoyathletics.info. So these are some of the highlights of the Vietnam Open and Junior meets. I may have already covered this in our last week's show, but I'm going to just go over some of the information again. So, just a quick shout out to Delmar Sardang, who's also enjoying our show today. So back to the highlights of the Vietnam Open and Juniors. So the junior men, well, I've got it around the wrong way actually, but you know what I mean. Those, it's pretty obvious that that's around the wrong way if you follow sprints. So the junior women was 11:90 and the junior men was 10:63 at the Vietnam National Junior Championships. So the half marathon was won at the Hanoi Marathon by Nguyen Thi Oanh, who is the SEA Games champion in the steeplechase, and she has the season lead now for the half marathon of 1 hour 23:15. And in the women's marathon, Pham Thi Hong Lee, who I think was bronze medalist at the SEA Games in the marathon, she's run 2 hours 56:30, so she's ranked 3rd. She's ahead of Tabal, who's run 2:58, and behind Halasto, who's run 2022. Um, Also in the 100 hurdles, Nguyen Thi Minh Han in the Ho Chi Minh City meet ran 14:45 to share the season lead with the Thai. Um, Not near from the Ho Chi Minh City meet ran 110.56, just 0.01 behind Nataphawan of Thailand. 800 meters long took the season lead um, in the 800 and 152.99. He's a junior athlete, born in 2002. Steeplechase, Lee Ting Long, at the National Juniors, ran 9:36.08. Nguyen Ting Trong jumped 7:87 in the long jump, which is the number 2 performance for the year for Southeast Asia. And the Ho Chi Minh City men's team had the number 1 relay performance of the year with 40.75. So since COVID, no relay teams really ran, and no one's broken 40 seconds this year. In retrospect, 40 seconds doesn't land you a medal at SEA Games. It's pretty much 5th place at SEA Games, that sort of time. So it's just that a lot of athletes have a lot of teams haven't ran this year because there's hardly been any meets because of COVID. Okay, so yeah, we did a follow-up in regards to the fellow Aussie 11-year-old Mia Galurgan. So we did a bit more research. So I've got all the updates on my site. Obviously, we decided to, as I announced last time, to award Mia Galurgan the Filipino Pinoy Athletics, rather the Pinoy Athletics Junior Female Athlete of the Year. So the youngest athlete in boys or girls, junior men or junior women, to be awarded that in the last 8 years. So off the top of my head, previous recipients of the Junior Athlete of the Year award for females includes Jenny Rose Rosales, Kayla Richardson, Zion Corrales Nelson, Evangeline Kaminong, Migi Nanura, and I'm pretty sure there are some others that names may escape me, but yeah, we've been awarding that for the last 8 years, and having said that, because of COVID, no national junior records were actually broken this year for the Philippines in men's, in junior men or junior women. So we didn't award a junior men's Athlete of the Year award this year because there was no exceptional performances because of COVID. There was not really much performances. In fact, all the athletes that were awarded the Athlete of the Year award, Christina Knott, EJ Obiena, and Mia Galurgan, they're all living overseas, so in Australia, Italy, the United States. So that's the only action that's really going on is outside the Philippines by athletes of Filipino origin or athletes training overseas. Now, looking at this list, so we did the stats on Mia Galurgan. We're not exactly sure if she has if she's a dual passport holder. So her best time is actually below the Philippine record of Benedita Magaso, which is 18:14. So she's like half a second below that record. So now looking that she's actually ran faster than any junior Philippines has produced, we need to ranked performance based on against the open women's category to figure out where her performance would actually stand against the all-time lists of women. So if we look at the records, she's about a minute behind the senior national record, which is 16:40.81 by Mr. Manipal. So Manipal's the only one who's actually ran under 17 minutes. So then followed by Sagarai and Martez, both at 17:15. So Martez is the uh, 10K record holder with 34:40, double SEA Games women's marathon champion who we featured earlier. Then former Milo marathon champion Florida-Lisa Ketro Carry-On, I believe one-time Milo women's champion, is just a second in front. Just a minute. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the big question, the Fig Sock investigation after the SEA Games. Okay, so just going to read from the headlines about what's going on here, as this is really in the news now, regarding SEA Games funding. Where did it go? What's happening? What's going on? Okay, so the news is from the Philippine Star. Palace up to House to investigate alleged irregularities in SEA Games hosting. It would be up to the House of Representatives to decide whether the probe issues surrounding the Philippines hosting of the 30th SEA Games, but there should be no witch hunts that would dishonor athletes who made the country proud, Malacanang said Sunday. Firmly agree with that, because it's not the athletes that are being brought into question here. Absolutely not. The SEA Games the Southeast Asian Games Organising Committee, a private body led by former House Speaker Ala Cayetano, has been criticised for the blunders, but the lawmaker insists there was nothing irregular in the hosting of the event. The controversies include the construction of a cauldron that cost at least $45 million and glitches related to the ability and transportation of some athletes. House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco replaced Cayetano after a tense leadership dispute, has said the chamber has no choice but to conduct a probe if someone files a resolution calling for an investigation of the issue. The 30th Southeast Asian Games showcase not only our local athletes at their best, but also demonstrated our successful hosting of a world-class event. Let us therefore not dishonor the men and women who gave honor and glory to the country by engaging in political innuendos and witch hunts, presidential spokesman Harry Roque said in a statement. Roque noted that the Office of the Ombudsman has formed a panel last year to conduct a fact-finding probe on the SEA Games controversy. We welcome this move of the Ombudsman in the same way that we leave the matter to the House of Representatives to conduct an investigation, if need be, on the use of government funds during last year's SEA Games, he added. Last month, Cayetano said Velasco could put him in jail if he finds anomalies in the Philippines' hosting of the SEA Games. The Philippines bagged 149 gold, 170 silver, and 121 medals, bronze medals during the regional sporting event. Okay, now just moving to that next screen. Okay, so this next screen is something that was given to me by a former athlete student to answer. It's probably, it's from a textbook, from an education. It's a page from a education textbook. Now, I wasn't even able to really answer this because I'm looking at the exercise, and these items that are listed that you have to put into two groups, they really overlap. Like, some of them overlap. Like, for example, you can't really group these into black and white two areas, because a lot of elements and a lot of these elements, like, they overlap with each other. Like, for example, speed, power, slash agility, and that they really just overlap with each other. Reaction time. coordination. These things overlap, so you can't really group them into two groups. So this is why I really question with this sort of material, like, with this sort of educational material, like, where is it leading to? Like, what, like, it's like you're given a question to answer, and they expect you to answer it. But if you answer it, you're answering it really incorrectly, because the question itself hasn't been very well structured. So you're forced to answer something which will cause confusion later on, which is an issue, I see, because, like, this is it basically goes against a lot of principles here. So that's why, like, it's just really not on. Anyway, and lots of textbooks are like this, and I'm just wondering, where is this going to lead to in terms of sports, if this is the sort of material that we're getting in schools. Okay, but anyway, with that aside, moving on. So I've been inserting some very interesting infographics into my pinoyathletics articles. So one thing that was brought up before, was when, the Filipino historian Eddie Alanilla wrote about, how he felt that Lydia De Vega was the greatest ever female track and field athlete the Philippines has produced, and I disagreed with it. Like, I honestly felt that, Lydia De Vega was a great athlete. Don't get me wrong. There, she performed very well at the Asian and the Southeast Asian level. But, if we go further back, like, Lydia is very well known, so that's why, it's easy to sort of have that name on the tip of the tongues. But if we go further back to the era before that, we have Josephine De La Vigne, an athlete that's hugely forgotten. She went to 3 Olympic Games, same as Lydia went to 2 Olympic Games. De La Vigne went to 3. She finished 18th, 15th, and 13th at the Olympic Games. I think it might have actually, sorry, it was 11th. So it was 18th, 15th, and 11th at the Olympic Games, and of made the final of the Olympic Games. So she's like basically the highest ever placed woman at the Olympics as well. Lydia finished 22nd, 32nd, and 43rd, in 3 events over 2 Olympic Games, and her highest ranking was 22nd. I'll just double check with De La Vigne what her standing was at the Olympics. So I think I have typoed again here, but I will check, the original source for that. I believe her highlight was the 1968 Olympic Games. Here we go, Olympic.org. That will straighten this out a bit. No, that doesn't straighten it out at all. Okay, here we go, the sports score. I think this is it. Okay. Okay, so this is the facts. Okay, so she placed 15th in 1968, which was a straight final, and she placed 13th, missing out on the final by 1 place. So in the Olympics, De La Vigne fared better than De Vega. I wouldn't say that the 100 is more of a difficult event than the shot put, because they're both equally tough events. Both of them, I believe they may be the only two that won gold medals at the Asian Games and the Asian Championships. Of course, Delavinia didn't win gold medals at the SEA Games because she retired before the Philippines joined the SEA Games in 1977. However, both Delavinia's records in the discus still stand, and the records are the oldest Philippine records now. So bear that in mind, that not only was Delavinia more successful at the Olympics and equally as successful as De Vega in the Asian Games and Asian Championships level, but she also, her records actually have stood longer. So her shot put record, junior shot put record set in 1965, is 55 years old, and her senior discus record set in 71 is 49 years old. And her performance now would land second at the Southeast Asian Games. Her best performance would still land second in the Southeast Asian Games almost 50 or so years later. The other thing to consider is this, that Delavinia is 7 meters better than the next best ever Filipino discus thrower, whereas De Vega's records are recently broken, but the next best Filipino athletes in the 1 and 200 meters are shortly behind, not way behind, like in the case of Delavinia, who has her records well ahead of the next best and the third best and the fourth best of all time in her events from the Philippines. So that's why I strongly advocate that Delavinia is probably the greatest female track and field athlete that the Philippines has produced. Like, we're not just talking in popularity, we're talking in performance and longer lasting performances here. So I had nominated her a few years back to be included in the PSC's Athletics Hall of Fame. I felt that she was very well deserving. She died a few years back, and I felt that she had been somewhat forgotten, but I felt that her name really should have been honoured in the PSC Hall of Fame. So I basically wrote my piece, and she ended up getting inducted into the Philippine Sports Hall of Fame. Okay, next. So yeah, this is just part of the projects that I'm working on. I've been working for the Association of Track and Field Statisticians, representing the Philippines for the last 8 years, or not 8, 7, 6 years, 7 years, and was recently voted in as the vice president of the ATFS. So yeah, I had paid some good money to universities to retrieve Philippine results from 1930 to 1970 from very old, very rare periodicals. I mean, this is a monthly periodical that started in 1930 to 1970. I've only ever seen a few copies of it. Like, there may even be months where there is no longer an existing copy of it because it's such an old periodical which wasn't very widely distributed at the time, containing Philippine athletic results. Like, there's photocopies of it. Some months may not have existing original copies left. Like, some libraries that I sought the information from, the old information had actually burned in fires, so it was no longer really perished. So I had to really, it's like going on a treasure hunt. I honestly had to dish out about $100 to get scans of the pages that I needed for my research. But that was worth it. Came out of ad revenue, so that was worth it for long-term research projects and having all that statistical information in one place. Yeah, so it's nearly extinct journalistic material. These pages really should be scanned and put online before this information is gone forever. A lot of it's typewritten, so ink's fading, that sort of thing. All right, so yeah, finalising it. I've just finishing off my level 3 Athletics Australian sprints and hurdles coaching. I'm on day 3 of 4, so next week is the end of the course. Some takeaways I got from this is like it was very top, like a top Australian coach giving a lecture on the course, so I learned quite a lot from this, and it was really an eye opener. So we're going on about type 2A genetic for sprint for fast twitch fibers, type 2A genetic, type 2B adjustable. It was quoted that the limitation for the adjustable was 1060 electronic for 100 in the best case scenario for male. They were talking about isometrics for Asian Caucasian sprinters based on Randy Huntington's research with working with the Chinese sprinters. Then there was information there on glute activation and therabins, which I'll be incorporating into my coaching. Need to actually go and buy some resistance bands. I believe there's 5 different colors of them, so I might be doing something on that next time. So some additional reads I have here. There was a thing on Charlie Francis's 10-day taper. That might be an interesting article later. Basically, he starts intense 10 days out and lowers the intensity as he goes on. So there was basically a thing on different percentage ranges to work on. I have now got a long list of different activation and drill type exercises. There was a thing on the sprints about the support flight and support phase. Things about athlete flexibility, like things like Pilates and yoga, were also included. Just put those notes back down. Okay. So this is now the training group I have during lockdown. So we have 3 athletes from Africa, 2 from the US, and 8 from the Philippines. Events ranging from the 100 meters right up to the 5, 10K. I'm not coaching anyone online for things like hurdles or jumps or anything like that at the moment. So those are way too technical events, and a lot of hidden hurdles, really a bit more difficult to come by during COVID. I'll just have a quick shout out to who is joining us in. So, Jana Joma Tohan, a member of the national team, and I can read Delmar Sadang is advising me that he's playing at the national games. Good on him. All the best for that. Hopefully that will push through by next year, if not a national open, national games, or one of them. So before I tune out, I'll just check if there's any questions, and I'll open this floor to any questions that the viewers may want to ask, whether it be regards to training, Philippine athletics news, or anything we've discussed today, other things on Southeast Asian news, things on world athletic results. Basically it's an open book now. I'll just close that presentation off. So yeah, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll just see what is going on the page. Oh yeah, there was a thing here on, this is good as well, there's a thing here as well on how to deal with runner's knee. So various various articles on that. I have so many windows open at the moment, I'm just trying to click them all shut. Oh yeah, so there's more people I have, I didn't see. Okay, so J.H. Fernandez, Leonese Soliviu, Chadi Ramos, Raul Barona. Who else? Kitchen Sink. I don't know. There's like lots of people here. I can see and notice there's so many people watching tonight. Anyway, thank you all. We can't do this without you. Close that one off. Programs. What else was I going to add? Oh yeah, I was able to get some of the athletes that I'm working with. I was able to get them access to the ovals, like just wrote to mayors or whoever I needed to write to. So that was all good. All right, I think that's all for today. There doesn't seem to be any questions going on. So yeah, um, again, just a recap of today. Yeah, so we'll just we'll just call it that day for now. That's 36 minutes. All right, thanks all, and bye for now.